What is going on, everyone? My name's Andy and welcome to another FPL video. Today we're talking the Game Week 22 preview. Game Week 21 seems like a bit far away now, even though Thursday was the last game. But we've had the little mini FA Cup break and I'm recording this on Monday night. It'll probably go out on Tuesday. So still a few days away from the deadline. Before I get this video out, there's a few talking points to go over coming into Game Week 22. Some big decisions to be made around big hitters. I'll talk about how I did in Game Week 21 quickly because I didn't do a separate review video on that. So I scored 50 points, pretty mediocre, saved by Sané on the last day with 10 points, which was nice. Fabianski mocks me. Didn't have him in, and then three or four game weeks ago, I got him in. He was doing really well for everyone, saves. So even when they weren't getting clean sheets, he was still scoring points. And yeah, he hasn't done that once for me yet. So I'm still waiting for that big haul. People talking about getting rid of him. I'm probably going to keep for now. West Ham have got pretty good fixtures. And most 4.5 million keepers aren't really scoring that consistently at the moment. Maybe that will change. But for now, I just don't want to use another transfer on Fabianski. So I'm probably going to keep him. If you didn't know, the Everton defence is awful when it comes to keeping clean sheets. Obviously, Lucas Digne is pretty good for attacking returns. But I do think even at his price of kind of 5.1, 5.2 million, they need to be keeping more clean sheets, because if they don't get any attacking returns, then you want to fall back on the defensive returns. What you're looking for are those hauls, obviously, where they get attacking return and defensive return. But if he gets neither, then it's really poor. And you can say, yes, he gets attacking returns. But similar to Doherty, like he's pretty frustrating when they doesn't get attacking returns, because they're just not very good at the moment for clean sheets. So I'm a bit worried about the Everton defence. When I talk about my plans, I'm probably going to get rid of Keane. If you've got Lucas Digne, it's probably a little bit tougher. You just got to hope they can get some clean sheets, and he'll keep getting the attacking returns as well. Alonso returns, which was nice. Obviously, a lot of people looked to get rid of him. I mean, it was 8 points. It was a couple of bonus points on top of a clean sheet. But it's nice that clean sheet came. I'm going to keep him for now. They've got another kind of 3 good fixtures in the next 4, so no real reason to get rid of him at the moment unless you need the money. Just one of those transfers out that's a bit of a luxury, really, more than anything. So I'm still holding on to him. As I mentioned, Sané saved the day. I felt like I wanted to keep one of my Man City players. I got rid of Sterling because I thought there was more chance of him getting benched. And then ironically, Sané got benched the next game. But they both played against Liverpool. Obviously, Sterling got the assist, but Sané got the goal, which was really nice. And I think he did that in the game before against Liverpool as well. So, bit of a big game player maybe. But it was a nice finish, and City have got some good fixtures now, and a lot of people have been looking at offloading them. But I mean, I don't see any reason why they're going to suddenly stop scoring loads of goals. They're renowned for that last year. They started off the season the same. Yes, they had a bit of a blip over Christmas, but the fixtures are there for them to carry on scoring goals. And while Mendy is out, I think Sané still looks like a really good option. So I'm not looking at getting rid of him right now. So really happy I've got him, and then a decent fixture up next. Consistent Kane. So Kane has scored, I think, points at least, not scored goals, but he's got points returns in every one of his last 10 game weeks, which is pretty impressive. Now, there's not too many major hauls in that run. Obviously, he is 12.6 million, so if you're not captaining him, I still think he's quite expensive. But you can't begrudge the amount of points he's got, and he's even added assists to his games. I think he only got 1 or 2 assists last season, something like that. He's already beaten that, and he looks like he's maybe a bit more creative, but obviously that does look like it's coming with a lack of goals as well. So with him, I may be looking at getting rid, but I'll talk about that soon. And then Hazard, the troll. People calling him a troll. I still think it's a little harsh. Yes, obviously when you captain someone against a weak team like Southampton, you want to see points returns. And he's been notoriously not good for captaincy in the past, but to be fair to him, he's scored so well this season. I don't think you can label him a troll. Interestingly, I can't remember exactly how many blanks he's got in his last 10 game weeks, but he's only scored 8 points less than Kane, who's got points in a return in every single game for the last 10 game weeks. So the difference is pretty negligible. Obviously, if you're going to use the captain, if you kept it on one or either of those, either Hazard or Kane, then obviously the points would have been very similar, but you want to nail those big returns. So yes, Kane's been consistent, but some of those returns have been quite small. So not much of a difference actually between Hazard and Kane over those 10 game weeks, or the last 10 game weeks. Hazard pretty close to him. So yeah, pretty poor week, 50 points, back down to 55k. 1,273 points altogether. Look, I want to be better than that. I think 55k by the end of the season, I will not be happy with that finish. Still plenty of time in the season to go, but obviously these days in FPL there's so many active players that a lot of those top 50k managers are going to be active, going to be playing, going to be doing their research. So it is going to be tough to climb the ranks, but there's still plenty of time to do it. So fingers crossed for sure for me. So looking ahead to game week 22, I've got down some of your questions and key talking points to go through. First of all, it's a Liverpool defensive double up. Obviously, we know that Liverpool's fixtures turn now. They've had a couple of tough fixtures in the last 4. Done pretty well out of them, apart from obviously the Man City game that's just gone. But people now looking at maybe double ups, triple ups with their team. I guess Salah's a given. And one defender even probably is this. Where do you put that extra money? So I think defensive double up or going even with Mane is a good idea. Liverpool, 5 good fixtures now. They got Brighton away, Palace at home, Leicester at home, West Ham away and Bournemouth at home. They're all winnable games, could be goals in all of them. Obviously teams like Palace have done okay recently. Brighton away, maybe they'll be tough enough at home when they're playing at home, obviously. But I think generally, if Liverpool are a team you think are going to score goals, and I think all those fixtures are pretty good for defensive and attacking returns. Interestingly, in defence, if you're just going to pick one, obviously Robertson's the go-to. But he's 6.6 million now. That is 1.4 million than Trent. And I'm not quite sure he kind of justifies that. I do think he'll probably outscore him over that next 5 run. But I'm not sure it's enough to justify an extra 1.4 million. So if cash is tight, I wouldn't be too worried if you've got Trent instead of Robertson. But obviously, if you've got Robertson and you can afford that, and I probably will be able to, then I will go for him. But I'm definitely looking at the double up. Liverpool's defence is so good. Van Dijk, Alisson. Obviously got a decent kind of working midfield as well. So for me, a double up is, I wouldn't say a no-brainer because I think you can go Mane, but it just looks really good right now. And in a position, defence, where we're not too sure where clean sheets are coming from at the moment. Obviously, you've got Wan-Bissaka, who's quite good at Crystal Palace. We're still hoping for good returns from Alonso, David Luiz and players like that. But we're really focusing on attacking returns with Doherty and the likes of Lucas Dean. So I think a Liverpool double up's good, but I wouldn't discount Mane completely. I think recently Salah has shown why he's worth the premium. He's about 46 points ahead of Mane now, but Mane has played around 2 games less, about 180 minutes less. They're not too far off, and stats-wise in recent times they're actually quite close. I do think Salah's got the benefit of you're much more likely to captain him, be happy to captain him. When Milner's off the pitch, he's got penalties as well. So I still think Salah's the one to have. But if you want a bit of a differential, rather than doubling up in defence, I don't see any harm in doubling up in midfield instead. You've also got Firmino as well. I just think there's better forward options. There's not so many slots there. And if you've moved to a kind of 3-5-2 or a 4-5-1, and you've got those midfield slots, then Mane could slot in. But for me, I'm probably going to focus on defensive double up just because there's lots of midfielders I've got and that I want. And whereas in defence, I'm struggling a little bit more to find the kind of players that I really want to put in there. So I'm probably going to look and do the double up. But like I say, if you can only afford one, then Trent is decent. I think Salah +1 for sure, and a triple up is good too. Kane versus Hazard versus Aubameyang. This has come up a lot. Some people asked it just Kane versus Aubameyang. Some people asked it Kane versus Hazard. Some asked for all 3. I won't go through each different permutation, but people are looking at getting rid of or one of these or maybe even 2 of these to fund Salah. And obviously I've got below that is Salah Essential. And I think the thing with him right now is his ownership's skyrocketed. He's shown that he can now get the double figures as well. He's passing the eye test in good form. Yes, a couple of his recent goals have come from penalties, which obviously if Milner was on the pitch he wouldn't have got. But he did get fouled, I think, for both of them as well. So if Milner had converted, he would have got points there. So he's looking pretty good, and obviously I already spoke about the run of fixtures he's got. The big thing is, you're probably going to captain him a lot over those 5 game weeks. He's going to be captained a lot in the game as well. So for me, I always say this, I don't like tagging people as essential. I think Salah is almost there at the moment. So if you've got to get rid of one of Kane, Hazard, or Aubameyang, I've got to be honest, it's pretty tight between these players. Obviously, already spoke in the review section that Kane's consistency is really good. Hazard, though, has scored a fair amount of points over a similar period, even though he's maybe not been as consistent. He's been explosive in other games and kind of blanked in other ones. And to be honest, if you're going to captain Salah most of the time, then it doesn't matter over a stretch of games how those points come in necessarily. If you're going to keep either Kane or Hazard for 5 game weeks, if they score the same over both, over that stretch of 5 runs, and you've not captained either, then it doesn't really matter. The other thing is, we've got to keep an eye on the transfer market as well. Chelsea, Morata has basically come in the last few games and Hazard's been pushed wide because Pedro's been injured. And I think if Chelsea can get back 2 wingers, Willian and Pedro, or they maybe even bring someone in, then I think Hazard will go back to a false 9 and then potentially he's a better option again. So that's something to keep an eye on. And obviously with Kane, you've got the fact that Son is about to go to the Asian Games. That means Lucas Moura, if he's not injured, is probably going to get more game time. And what we saw earlier in the season is he almost got in the way of Kane and kind of and made Kane drop even deeper than he has been recently and wasn't getting so many points. The thing with Kane is it's hard to go against him right now because obviously he is in such good form, 10 game weeks, 10 returns, at least 10 returns in that time. And he's got the fixtures to carry on going forward. So it's Man United at home next, which is tough enough, I think. Although being at home is going to probably be a little bit of an advantage than playing at Old Trafford. Then it's Fulham away, Watford at home, Newcastle at home and Leicester at home. So 3 nice, juicy home fixtures in a row during a time where Salah plays Leicester, West Ham and Bournemouth. So I still think you're probably going to look more to captain in Salah, which puts me off Kane because he's 12.6 million, let's not forget. You can have Aubameyang and Hazard for cheaper. Looking at the stats, I mean, Aubameyang absolutely smashes expected goals. I think over the last 6 weeks he's on 5.47 compared to Kane's 1.91, and Hazard's on 2.84. And even when you look at expected assists, Kane's at the bottom there. So although he's been returning quite a lot recently, if you went by the underlying stats and they played those games again, you'd expect Aubameyang to score more. And if you watch him on the eye test, he has missed quite a few good chances, and you could just say he's not clinical enough. He's obviously not converting those chances. But the way I'm looking at him right now, and I'm a bit worried not to own him, is that he's got a big score coming. Now, him and Hazard both have 2 top six teams to play in the next 5. For Arsenal, it's Chelsea at home. Obviously, then Hazard plays Arsenal away. And then they've got Man City away. So that Man City away game is going to be really tough. But in between those fixtures, Aubameyang's got West Ham away, Cardiff at home and Huddersfield away. I think there's some big scores coming there. And if I had to get rid of one of those 3... and I do own 2 of them, I'm going to have to get rid of one to fund Salah, probably, if I don't want to get rid of Sané, which we'll come on to in a minute. Then I think I'm still selling Kane, even though I know with 10 returns, like I said, in the last 10, and good fixtures, he could hurt me. But I just know people aren't going to captain him, so that kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. So I think for your saving on Aubameyang and Hazard, better underlying stats, slightly worse fixtures, but still winnable fixtures. And with Hazard, you've got the extra points for clean sheets and goals as well, and he's on penalties too. I do think Aubameyang and Hazard, if you're having to pick 2 out of those 3, are the best ones. Let me know in the comments below if you completely disagree with that. Am I writing off Kane? Is he going to punish me? What to do with Salah and Sterling? I kind of already mentioned it in the review. I would keep if you've got them. Arguably, you could even bring one of them in if you wanted to. You could go for a broke. Maybe bring one of them in ahead of Hazard or something like that. If it's Sané, obviously you've got him ahead of the likes of maybe Pogba if you've got an extra million or so to spend. But I definitely keep him. Like I said, I just don't think that the goals are suddenly going to dry up for them. They're obviously going to be pushing Liverpool now. That's a great win for them. That's going to instill confidence. They've just smashed Rotherham 7-0 as well in the FA Cup. So there's going to be a lot of confidence there. 4 points is not too much to close before the end of the season. A lot of pressure on Liverpool. They've just gone out of the FA Cup. So maybe they'll be feeling a bit down about that. It's another trophy they're not going to win. So I just think Man City will continue to be on the up. Will they win the league? We'll have to wait and see on that. Can Liverpool withstand the pressure? But Man City have done it before. They've got talented players. For me, I definitely want to keep hold of Sané. And I would too if I wanted Sterling. The only, I suppose, little part of me that would make me get rid of him, if I absolutely had to sell one of those 2 to get Salah, then I probably would just for the captaincy. But if I didn't, then I'd want to keep them. People talking about selling Son. Obviously, this is his last game now before the Asia Games. He may only miss 2 or 3 games, depending on how well he does there or how well his country does. I think if you're looking to upgrade, maybe not Pogba this week because of the price, but if you can get in someone like Hazard or Sané, or even Salah for Son because you've funded it in a different way. And I don't think selling this week is the worst thing to do. But to be fair, Spurs have been in pretty good form. Man United is still leaky at the back. Yes, they got a clean sheet against Newcastle, but I don't think they're going to get one against Spurs. So you'd imagine Son will play in that game. So I don't think there's a rush to get rid of him this week. Some people are even thinking about keeping him after he goes away for the Asia Cup if he's only going to miss a couple of game weeks. I personally think there's points to be won there by getting rid of him. And anything could happen. Players in Spurs could get injured. He could get injured while he's away. Maybe another player comes into a form. Yes, if he comes back and he gets straight back into the 11 and he's playing week in, week out, he looks like a great purchase for his price. But anything could happen where he doesn't come back straight away. Maybe he needs a little bit of a rest. Maybe he's just benched. and comes on for half an hour for the first couple of games. I just think there's enough there to sell him. Whether or not you do it for Man United is a different thing. I think there's every reason to keep hold of him. But if you can get someone like Sané or Salah with better fixtures and maybe even captaincy potential, I don't think there's a huge issue with selling this week. I'll be probably selling Kane this week, so I'm not too concerned about getting rid of him, although I know obviously both of them could punish me. Lastly, I just touched on this quickly. Early wildcards. My answer on this will probably never change. If you can hold on to it, I would hold on to it. There's a lot of, if you've not played FPL before, this is your first season, there's a lot of stuff going to happen in the next few weeks with blank game weeks, double game weeks. We've got all our chips to play, potentially triple captain, bench boost and things like that. There's people like Ben Krellin on Twitter, you can search for him, who's going to track all this when all this is happening. I think it's a bit too early to start worrying about it right now, but we are going to have blank game weeks in the next kind of 5 or 6, and that's where a team won't play in a game week. Now the FA Cup draw has been kind to limiting the amount of blanks, which also means it will limit the amount of double game weeks. So there's potentially a little bit less planning to do, and it makes it a little bit easier. We're going to have to wait and see on that. But unless you absolutely need it, I would hold off. If you've got a team similar to the one I'm showing on screen, for example, not saying you have to have my team, there's obviously loads of different ways to play it, but if you've got a team similar to that, then you've already got most of the players that people are looking to bring in. Yes, I haven't got everyone. I haven't got Aubameyang, haven't got Sterling, haven't got Salah yet. And obviously there's other cheap strikers you could buy in as well. But if you've got a core of those kind of 15, then I wouldn't use it. I think you can probably just take a hit or two, and you'll understand when you get to the double game weeks just how, not essential, but how valuable that wild card is. It allows you to play different strategies, get a team in for the blanks and then wild card out of it, or whatever it might be. We'll worry about it closer to the time, but I would definitely try and hold on to it if you can. Captaincy for this week, there's not too many standout options. Even Salah is against Brighton, but that is an away game. I think that's where I'll go. But I think Aubameyang versus West Ham is a really good shout. He's going to convert these stats at some point. Man City versus Wolves, I think, is a tough one. I think Wolves have done really well against the top 6, and obviously they drew 1-1 earlier in the season. Otherwise, you've got Hazard against Newcastle, but I've got a feeling people will be wary about captain and Hazard. I would try and not let that get to you. He's going to play. If he plays as a false 9, I think, yes, Newcastle are probably not going to get battered 4 or 5-0, but if they do score, Hazard will be involved. So for me, I think Hazard's decent if he's one of your only options. Otherwise, Salah or Aubameyang. Now, captain and Aubameyang ahead of Salah, I know feels kind of risky, but I just think West Ham could be there for the taking. And Aubameyang, like I said, really, really good underlying stats. He's going to convert them soon and have a monster haul. So if you've got him, you could go for one last go on Aubameyang, so to speak, before you start captaining Salah for the really nice home games that he's got. So I'll probably go Salah. That brings me on to my plans. I'm definitely going to bring Salah in. How do I do that? Probably Kane to Rashford, Felipe Anderson to Salah. I can do that for free. Then I may use a -4 to do Keane to Robertson, because I just want Liverpool defence in over these 5 fixtures, and I think Keane against Bournemouth, probably not going to keep a clean sheet there. He probably will now. He'll probably keep a clean sheet, get a goal and 3 bonus points now I've said that. But I think the -4 will pay off, and that also then lets me maybe get Trent Alexander-Arnold the next week to double up on the defence. So that's something I'm looking at. But definitely bring the Salah in. I could do Hazard to Salah for free, and I could do Sané to Hazard and fund that with a slight downgrade from Alonso, potentially to Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I've got other ways to do it, but I think I'm going to use Kane out. Man United have still got very good fixtures. Rashford looks like he's going to be the #1 striker there, especially as Lukaku played in the Cup. So that's my plans. My captain will probably be Salah. I think Aubameyang's really good though this week as well. I'll leave it there. If you've got any questions or comments on what I've said, have I talked absolute rubbish? Do you agree with what I've said? Leave a comment below. It'd be much appreciated. Hit the like button. As always, it always helps out. And subscribe if you're new around here. This will probably go out on Tuesday night. I'll be streaming as normal on Thursday night at 9:30, answering any questions that you might have. So I'll see you then. Otherwise, yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers all.